The phone's glow cut through the darkness at 3:17 in the morning. Michael Torres reached for it with that instant alertness that comes from years of being a single parent. Even now, with his daughter Emma away at college, some part of him never stopped listening for her call. "Mr. Torres?" The voice was professional, but urgent. "This is Memorial Hospital. I'm calling about Sarah Chen." Sarah. He hadn't heard that name spoken aloud in 3 years. Not since the divorce papers were signed in that sterile conference room downtown. "What's happened?" Michael sat up, already reaching for his glasses on the nightstand. "She's been in a serious car accident. She's in surgery now. We found your number listed as her emergency contact. The doctors need you to come right away." 20 minutes later, Michael pushed through the hospital's automatic doors, still wearing the faded Northwestern sweatshirt he'd pulled on in the dark. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as a nurse guided him through corridors that all looked the same. His sneakers squeaked against the linoleum floor, the sound echoing in the empty hallways. The waiting room held that particular stillness that only exists in hospitals late at night. Coffee that had been sitting too long. Chairs arranged with optimistic spacing, as if family members might want distance from each other during crisis. Michael chose a seat near the window, though there was nothing to see but his own reflection against the darkness outside. He thought about the last time he'd seen Sarah, a Tuesday afternoon, ordinary in every way except that it was the day she'd moved the last of her things out of their house. 23 years of marriage, packed into cardboard boxes. She'd wanted to say something at the door. He could see it in the way she hesitated, her hand on the frame. But neither of them had the words anymore, so she just nodded and left. "Mr. Torres?" A surgeon in green scrubs approached, pulling down his mask. His face showed the fatigue of someone who'd been fighting for hours. "I'm Dr. Patel. Your wife is stable, but the next 48 hours are critical." "Ex-wife," Michael corrected automatically, then felt small for it. "How bad is it?" Dr. Patel sat down, which told Michael everything before the words came. "Multiple fractures. Internal bleeding that we've managed to control. But there's significant trauma to her liver and spleen. She's going to need extensive care during recovery. Do you know if she has family nearby?" Michael rubbed his face. "Her parents passed away years ago. She has a sister in Seattle, but they haven't spoken in I don't know how long. Her friends—" He trailed off, realizing he didn't know who Sarah's friends were anymore. Somewhere in the slow dissolution of their marriage, they'd each retreated into separate lives. "She's going to need someone," Dr. Patel said gently. "The recovery will be long, months possibly. She'll need help with basic tasks, physical therapy, someone to manage medications, drive her to appointments." Michael looked at his hands. They were older than he remembered. When had that happened? 58 years had etched themselves into the lines and age spots he barely recognized. "Can I see her?" Sarah lay small and still in the ICU bed, surrounded by machines that beeped and hummed with mechanical concern. Her face was swollen, bruised a deep purple along one side. An oxygen tube rested beneath her nose. The strong, capable woman who used to wake at 5 every morning to go running, who'd built a career in architecture through pure determination, looked fragile now, breakable. Michael pulled a chair close and sat down. He didn't take her hand, that felt like overstepping some invisible boundary they'd established. But he stayed. The nurse came in to check vitals, her movements practiced and efficient. "You should go home, get some rest," she said kindly. "She won't wake up for hours yet." "I'll stay a bit longer," Michael said. Dawn came slowly, painting the hospital room in shades of gray before the sun finally broke through. Michael had dozed off in the chair, his neck stiff, when he heard a small sound. Sarah's eyes fluttered open, confused and frightened. "Hey," he said softly. "You're okay. You're in the hospital. You were in an accident." Her eyes found him, tried to focus. "Michael?" Her voice was barely a whisper, hoarse from the breathing tube. "I'm here. Don't try to talk. The doctors say you're going to be fine, but you need to rest." A tear slid down her cheek. Michael reached for the tissue box, gently dabbed it away. Her hand moved slightly on the blanket, and without thinking, he took it. Her fingers curled weakly around his. Over the next few days, Michael learned the new rhythms of hospital vigils. Emma drove home from college, her face pale with worry. She'd always been close to her mother, and seeing Sarah this way shook her. "Dad," Emma said on the third day, sitting beside him in the cafeteria over coffee that tasted like water. "What happens when Mom gets discharged? She can't go home alone to her apartment." Michael had been thinking about this, thinking about it at 3 in the morning when sleep wouldn't come. Thinking about it while Sarah slept, her breathing steady with medication. "I know," he said. "Her lease is up next month anyway," Emma continued. "She told me she was thinking about finding a new place, something smaller." "I have the guest room," Michael heard himself say. "It's just sitting there empty." Emma looked at him with those eyes that were so much like Sarah's. "Are you sure, Dad? I mean, after everything. After everything. After the arguments that started over small things and grew until they consumed whole evenings. After the silence that was worse than the arguing. After the slow, painful realization that somewhere along the way they'd forgotten how to be kind to each other. After the divorce that was necessary and sad and final. She needs help, Michael said simply, and we're still family. That doesn't just go away because we signed papers. When Sarah was conscious enough to understand, Michael waited until Emma had stepped out of the room. He pulled the chair close to her bed. "Listen," he said, "the doctors say you'll need help for a while, at least a couple of months. I know things are different now, but I have the space and Emma's worried about you being alone." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Michael, I can't ask you to—" "You're not asking. I'm offering." He managed a small smile. "Besides, someone needs to make sure you actually follow the physical therapy instructions. You always were terrible at being a patient." A sound escaped her that might have been a laugh or a sob. "This is too much. After how things ended." "How things ended was hard," Michael acknowledged. "But that doesn't mean I want you to be alone and struggling. We spent more than 20 years together, Sarah. That counts for something." The day Sarah was discharged, Michael pulled his car up to the hospital entrance. Emma had helped her mother dress in soft sweatpants and a loose shirt that wouldn't irritate the healing incisions. The wheelchair ride to the car seemed to exhaust Sarah completely. Getting her into the house was a slow process. Michael had prepared the guest room, moving the furniture to create clear pathways, installing a shower chair in the bathroom, setting up a small table beside the bed for water and medications. "Thank you," Sarah whispered as he helped her settle onto the bed, arranging pillows to support her injured ribs. "For all of this, get some rest," he said. "I'll bring you something to eat in a bit. Doctor said small meals, nothing too heavy." Those first weeks established their careful routine. Michael would wake at 6, make coffee, then prepare breakfast that met Sarah's dietary restrictions. He'd help her to the bathroom, waiting outside the door in case she needed assistance, trying to preserve what dignity he could in an undignified situation. Physical therapy appointments 3 times a week. Michael drove, helped her in and out of the car, sat in the waiting room reading paperback mysteries, while she worked with the therapist. He learned to manage her medications, the complex schedule of what needed to be taken when, with food or without. Emma visited on weekends, and Michael would see mother and daughter talking quietly in the guest room, their heads bent together over old photo albums Sarah had asked Emma to bring from storage. Sometimes he'd hear them laughing, and the sound filled spaces in the house that had been empty too long. One evening, about a month into Sarah's stay, Michael was in the kitchen preparing dinner when she appeared in the doorway, moving slowly with her walker. "You should be resting," he said, concerned. "I've been resting for weeks. I needed to move." She made her way to the kitchen table, lowering herself carefully into a chair. "What are you making? That chicken soup you used to like, the one with the rice and vegetables?" Sarah was quiet for a moment. "You remembered." "I remember a lot of things." Michael stirred the pot, adjusted the heat. "Good things, mostly. That's what I've been thinking about lately." "Me too," she said softly. "I've had a lot of time to think, about what went wrong, about the things I said, the things I didn't say." Michael brought 2 bowls to the table, sat down across from her. "We both made mistakes, Sarah. We got lost somewhere. Stopped seeing each other, really seeing each other. You're being so kind to me," she said, tears in her eyes. After I was so angry, so bitter, I blamed you for things that weren't your fault. I blamed you for my own unhappiness. And I shut down, Michael admitted. When you tried to talk, I'd retreat. Read the paper, work late, anything to avoid the conversations we needed to have. I thought if I ignored the problems, they'd go away. Instead, I ignored you. They ate in silence for a while, but it was different from the silences of before. Gentler, somehow, more honest. This soup is perfect, Sarah said. Thank you. As spring turned to summer, Sarah grew stronger. The walker gave way to a cane. She could shower by herself now, dress herself, manage her own medications. She'd sit in the backyard in the afternoons, reading books from Michael's collection, sometimes falling asleep in the sun. Michael would watch her from the kitchen window while washing dishes. This woman he'd spent half his life with, and feel something he thought was long dead stirring in his chest. Not the passionate love of young marriage, but something deeper, steadier, a recognition of shared history, of all the ways they'd shaped each other's lives. One Saturday, Emma arrived with takeout Chinese food for dinner. They ate together at the kitchen table, the three of them, and it felt almost like old times. Almost, but different too, better in some ways. I got an email from the university, Emma said, playing with her lo mein. They're offering me a research assistant position for next semester. It means staying on campus through the summer. That's wonderful, honey, Sarah said, reaching across to squeeze her daughter's hand. But it means I won't be able to come home as much, Emma continued, looking between her parents. Will you two be okay? Michael and Sarah exchanged a glance. Something passed between them, an understanding that didn't need words. We'll be fine, Michael said. Better than fine, Sarah added quietly. After Emma left, Sarah asked Michael if they could sit on the back porch. The evening was cool, the fireflies just beginning their nightly dance across the lawn. They sat in the old wicker chairs Michael had bought years ago, when Emma was still in elementary school. I've been thinking, Sarah said. Dr. Patel cleared me to live independently again. I should probably start looking for a new place. Michael's heart sank, though he tried not to show it. If that's what you want. Is it what you want? She asked. He looked at her in the fading light. Honestly, no. But I don't want you to stay out of obligation, or gratitude, or because it's convenient. What if it's none of those things? Sarah turned in her chair to face him. What if I want to stay because these past few months, living here with you, being cared for by you, it reminded me of the man I fell in love with 30 years ago. The kind, patient, thoughtful man who got buried somewhere under all our arguments and hurt feelings. Sarah, let me finish, she said gently. I'm not asking to turn back time. We can't undo the mistakes we made. But maybe we could start over. Not as the people we were, but as the people we are now. Older, hopefully wiser, with a better understanding of what matters. Michael reached across the space between their chairs and took her hand. I'd like that. I've missed you. Not the fighting, not the tension, but you, the real you. I got a second chance to see that person again. They sat together as darkness fell completely, holding hands like teenagers watching the fireflies write their brief, bright messages in the summer air. 3 months later, Emma came home for Thanksgiving to find her mother's things integrated throughout the house. Sarah's books on the shelves, her coffee mug in the cabinet, her reading glasses on the side table, her parents moving around the kitchen together with the ease of long practice, finishing each other's sentences, laughing at jokes Emma didn't quite understand. So, are you two? Emma asked carefully over pie. We're figuring it out, Michael said. Day by day, Sarah added, reaching over to take his hand. Taking it slow, Michael agreed. Emma looked at them and smiled. You know what? That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Later that night, after Emma had gone to bed in her old room upstairs, Michael and Sarah sat together on the couch, Sarah's head resting on his shoulder. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For answering the phone that night, for coming to the hospital, for not turning your back on me when you had every right to. We made vows once, Michael said. In sickness and health, maybe we needed to relearn what those words really meant. I think, Sarah said slowly, that sometimes you have to break apart to understand how to truly come back together, not as who we were, but as who we're meant to be. Outside, the first snow of the season had begun to fall, soft and silent, covering everything in gentle white. Inside, in the warm glow of the living room, two people who'd lost their way had found their path back to each other, not through grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but through simple, daily acts of kindness and care. And that, Michael thought, holding Sarah close, was worth more than any easy love had ever been. Because this love, hard-won and twice